Good evening and welcome back to Defining Virtuosity. I'm Odin Rathman, Professor of Violin at Cleveland State University. Tonight I would like to add another video of a Wohlfahrt study, this time number 37, which is marked Moderato. And I've sort of in the sidebar written a couple of reminders for myself when I'm teaching this about what I'm looking for and what I think is sort of in the bag here, so to speak. It's composed in B flat major and is a combination of eighths, sixteenths, and longer notes, half notes with ties. By suggestion, it's a lyrical work, and we can introduce the notion of looking for a dolce or sweet sound. So we want to use vibrato. We want to maybe avoid stopped bows such as martelets and catches and things like that, and play without catches, without clicks, so to speak. We also want to think about how the lines of the music are developed and what the note values are, because if we look back to the exercises on various bow speeds and sounding points taught by both Simon Fisher and available on other videos on YouTube, including some of Nate Cole's and others, we can understand quite quickly that faster bow speeds will be farther from the bridge, right? And the slower we go, the more we're going to want to come into the bridge so that we can hold the sound longer without tightening up our body, just by letting the bow work for us. With that in mind, the half note figures in Wohlfahrt number 37 should be closer to the bridge than the quarters closer than the eighths closer than the sixteenths. But don't be fooled. Think about what the bow rhythm is. If you have 4/16 slurred, you are in fact playing a quarter note with the bow, and you want to adjust the bow speed inward, closer to the bridge, and focus on the left hand articulations being clear in those passages. So if we think about the first two measures, we could use an open bow stroke for the first 8 notes, an open free bow stroke. Slow it down a little, lighten up, and slow it down a lot. So what I did was 8 notes, a quarter, 2 eighths, and a half. 1, quarter, eighths, half. That's just the primary training for the bow arm, to understand how to keep sort of consistent resistance levels if we're using more bow, more free, less bow, a little closer to the bridge. That way there won't be any sudden dips in the sound and we can start to create lines. To that we can add the issue of the left hand. Again, I like practicing all slurs to discipline when the notes change. And we go through the study that way. Now, when I practiced without vibrato, I will refer you back to the lesson I gave on the Gypsy Next Door and conditions for developing an impulse, a true impulse vibrato. That is the time to make sure that we're completely free, that we have the hand in a position where the vibrato will work. When you start adding the vibrato, don't make it all consuming, but think of each vibrato sort of as something that releases tension rather than adds it. So here I extended the third finger instead of using the fourth. and will then, off of that tie, substitute, either go into second position and then to first in the next measure, or remain in third position and just play the A natural with the second finger. So after, here we use the second finger twice. Now we come to the harmonic development portion of the etude. So I would start this a little less, maybe. Also in the width of the vibrato, a little more innocent. There again, I think it's silly to go cross strings. So I extend the third finger to fourth position with a square around it using Galamin's fingering principle, which means we reach to the third finger to the fourth position and let the hand follow. So for the next 4 notes, we'll be in fourth position. So in other words, from the F on and the E flat, then second position. So that allows us to keep one color of sound at the cadence. And that's also the end of the development section and leads right into the recapitulation. I think this is important for young students to understand so that they always create an architecture, even within a little etude like this. So if the second section begins with back home to what we recognize, the main theme repeats itself right here. This way they can really be inspired to tell a story and to do so in an architectural way. So we're now brought back to the recapitulation. You'll notice that I continued into the bridge, and referring back to the lesson on vibrato, free vibrato, I discussed that energy levels can change in one hand without changing in the other. I can keep that same slow and narrow vibrato as I go up to the high D, even though I'm increasing the intensity, the pressure, and the resistance in the bow a lot, and it creates a kind of crying or pleading effect in the sound. If your vibrato is slow and narrow, it really sort of cries a little bit, and I think that's a good skill to have. So you can play warmly here. Here I might vibrate more. Here, where you might expect me to vibrate more, I might do it in the bow. But I'm really trying not to necessarily widen the vibrato, and that creates a different effect. I'm not saying it's the only way. You could also use more bow and be very outward. It depends on what sort of character you want to create, and that's contextual. Sometimes it's very strictly dictated by the implications of the composer. But being able to do either is having a flexible vibrato vocabulary, so I think it's very important. Then we finally come to this little cadence. And the little piece ends. It's a great little singing melody for learning how to bow farther, coming in and pulling a sound, working with these inverse variables, inverse ways of creating energy level. More bow arm freedom and lighter strokes farther from the bridge, heavier and closer to the bridge, making sure that the springs of the right hand are loose the entire time. So there you have it. Wohlfahrt number 37, Moderato, which I've subtitled Lyrical and Dolce. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful to you, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, share, and like. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching.